hyphen S. If SAM is 0 into E 7988B60. See, now I have the user ID. The user ID is 500. It means it's an administrator. The name has been changed to INDGT to 1. So I have the hash values, which is this is LM hash. This is the NTLM hash. Using KNet table, I can easily crack it, or using the rainbow tables if it is there. If I have the rainbow tables, then I can easily crack these hashes. I can't use KNet table into my machine because the antivirus is installed into my machine, but using VMware image, I can easily crack it.
So, if it was an ATLM, if it was ATLM 2, okay, and your password is greater than 10 characters, what do you do in that kind of situation?
See,
because a rainbow table for, for NTLM, yeah, but even a rainbow table for NTLM, is, if you have characters, I mean, if it crosses 10, it is.
Then this landline hashes are available. This particular portion is available with you. Why to go for the complex word?
So that's why I mentioned, if it's a Windows, Vista or Windows 7 machine.
You have again the restrictions to that. Then you have to use the brute force either technology because you can't say yes, I've got the image and I can crack the password. There are limitations to it. But as the technology improves, might be there will be some time when we'll be able to crack these hashes.
Do you replay hashes to get to the machine?
Didn't understand that?
Do you replay hashes?
Replaying the sense?
There's a technique called where you can send the username and instead of sending the password, you can send the hash and then you get into the machine.
As far as my knowledge goes, no.
You can.
We can? Okay. I'm not aware of this fact. Yeah.
Instead of this, how about using password dump? Because that also features the LSS.
You see, I'm telling you what all information is available into the memory, how to extract it. There are a lot of ways where you can achieve this particular task. Now the next step which I'll be showing, again it can be used using the live tools that are available for extracting the process information and all. But what all information is available? But one day you will definitely be needing this information, how to extract this, because might be there is limited access to access these files, SAM file or security file. So might be in that case you will be in need of this file, this particular technology. Sorry.
One more doubt.
Yeah.
I believe my knowledge is this hash or one-way hash. You cannot decrypt it.
We can.
You cannot get clear text password out of this hash.
We can. Why not? We can.
That's the Windows restriction.
Show the demo after the show.
I can show you the demo. See, if we have got this either the rainbow tables, you have to generate your own landline hashes, either the alphabetic or the numeric or the special characters. If you have the rainbow tables, then it will be cracked within seconds.
No, what I mean here is the way we crack the passwords is we generate the hashes using our dictionary and compare the hashes with these hashes.
No, you did not do that.
We do not decrypt the hash into clear text and then compare.
See, there's a process. Either you load these hashes, you do one thing, redirect this output to a particular file, give that particular file to KNet table and ask it to do the brute force attack. If the password is simple, it will be cracked like within seconds, and if it's complex, it will take some time. But yes, for sure, I bet you on this, it will definitely be cracked. Or if you don't have that much time to go for the brute force attack, you can go for the rainbow tables. You can generate your own, or you can buy your pre-generated rainbow tables and then crack these hashes. There was a Milgrom, there was a slide.
My bottom line question was, can you convert these hashes into plain text? I believe no.
No.
Okay, that's not my question. I know different techniques on how to crack the things, but I believe you cannot convert it back into my password is password. You cannot generate that password clear text out of my hash. That's one thing.
See, now you are talking like I have got the MD5 hash. Can I get the contents of the file? Answer is no.
Fine.
Next module that I'll be using is ESList to view the running processes now, where it is useful. Like it's like the machine is there, the compromised machine is there, the machine is up and running. I can't switch down the machine because I have to take the volatile data. I'll collect the volatile data and I'll do the analysis onto that, not onto the original machine, as per the forensic analysis. So I'll use PS list to view all the processes that were running at that time when the compromised machine was running. So if I have any, you can see this file coh32.exe. I don't know what is that, but I can do the analysis onto this. I can extract the sample and I can do the analysis on this. Yeah.
What we see is a list of processes.
Right.
What about for DLL process files which are injected into run processes?
See, volatility is still under development, but these guys are, they are looking into more advanced features where they can extract the DLL files or OCX files linked with these particular processes. Till now, they have managed to extract the registry keys which a particular process is using at that particular time, but not the DLL or the OCX files. So I'll show how to extract the registry keys using, and it's a simple module. You have to just mention the name of the module and you are done with the task. Now, the third point that I want to discuss is extracting user access keys from the RAM. Now, what are the user access keys? Any idea to anyone? This is the, please make a note of it if you are not aware of this fact. This is the most important point which any of the forensic investigators should be aware of. User access keys are the keys that are stored into the registry and contains the information about the executable files or the link files that has been executed by the end user. At what time it was run, how many times it was run, that's all stored into the registry. But till now, the volatility has managed to extract only the executable file, only the list of executable files that were running at that particular time, but not the time and the date stamps or the number of times it was executed. For doing that, we'll do the registry analysis, and in registry analysis, I'll cover this particular point. Now, user access keys follow the very simple kind of an encryption algorithm, that is ROT13 encryption. You are from a virus research background, so you must be aware of what is ROT13. For everyone else, ROT13 is basically a ROT13 encryptor or ROT13 decryptor. ROT13 means rotate by 13. If your alphabet is A, increase by 13, so B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N. It will be replaced by N. So similar is the case with the other alphabets or the numeric numbers. So let's see how the user access keys look into RAM. I'll use the professional tool with the name Ncase. It's the licensed version, and I'll achieve the task. Whatever I want, I'll write the grep expression, general regular expression for this, and I'll achieve this task. So I have the case already installed on my machine. My image.img is the file from where I want to extract the registry, from where I want to extract the user access keys. And then I have this with me. It's a complex search that has been created. See, whenever you are looking for the user access keys into the registry, its format will be like, it has a starting character as HRZR_EHACNGU, which you do a ROT13 decryptor, it will come as UENV_root path. Dot, star, which will be mentioning the name of the file that was executed. And at the end, I told you it's an executable file. RKR is EXE. If you rotate by 13, the answer will be EXE. So I've written a grep expression for this, and I want to search wherever this particular term is coming. I want to extract this search head. This one, and the second is for the LNK files. Same holds true for the LNK as well, but RKR is replaced by YAX. Because YAX is LNK in ROT13 decryption format. So once the query has been done, then I'll do the search. Keyword is selected items are 2 because there are 2 keywords, and then I'll just start with the process. Once it has been done, the results are with me in the, see, here goes the results. Hit text. I found the hit text. What I'll do is I'll extract this hit text into a file, then I'll load all that text into a certain decryptor, and the results will be with me. I've already exported into a file. These are the files. Are you able to see the contents of it? So see, I have got this RPR, then let's search for LNK file as well. There will be LNK file as well. Okay. Just load, I'll load all this file into ROT13 and decryptor. This is the encoded part, this is the decoded part. ROT13 decoded text appears here as you type. Here goes the results. So if there is any kind of a vulnerable tool, like for the hacking tool that has been, okay, I understand in terms of your virus researchers and see that the Trojan has executed the tool. It's not the human. But how many times? 1 time, 2 times, 3 times. But if it is running again and again, like for 10 times, 20 times, then you can cross-question the particular custodian as what US guys use in terms of forensic investigation. So you can ask the custodian why this particular tool was executed from your machine 10 times, 20 times. Trojan will not do that kind of activity. In general, Trojan will not do that kind of activities again and again. Yeah.
One, I could use prefetch files like fast prefetch files.
Right. Right.
Second, both techniques suffer from the same issue.
But now, just a pause. Now, prefetch has got a limitation that it will store only 128 files. User access don't have any restriction onto that. Whatever the files are executed, if it's a duplicated file, it will store the number of times it has been executed. If it's a new file, it will be stored into this user access. So this key is very, very important to the registry. And when I'm doing the registry investigation, I'll show you where these keys are residing and how to extract it, how to load it on a machine and do the analysis. Yeah.
What was trying to say, the disadvantage is if something runs, not under the user's context, for example, as a service running as
right, you can just ignore it.
Or no, if a Trojan ran as a service using a local system account, what if it injected into the process, into a running process?
Right.
This key is not going to show that.
Agree. Then there are other ways to do the investigation. Like for if I'm doing the process listing, then in process listing services will definitely be there. So I can do the investigation of that particular service and I can get the results for that. I can extract the sample and I can do the analysis what that particular binary is doing. So I'm not saying that this is the only method where you have to restrict yourself to get the evidence, but there are 100 other ways to get the investigation. But this is very, very important when you are doing the investigation, especially in the case of hacking, or malware analysis. Any doubts? Sorry if I'm running very fast. I'm explaining very fast. Sorry for that. And if there are any doubts, please come up with the questions. Then comes viewing registry keys for all open process. It's pretty simple. You have to again use one of the modules with the name registries or forward the exact name. So let's see the network volatility. It's reg obj keys. Print list of open reg keys for each process. All of you are aware of this command ls. And what about ls off? ls off is very important. It will list all the open files. If some file is in use, and what all files have been opened by that particular file, by that particular execution.